Hello again, welcome to my next topic, that is data collection and presentation. I'm Clinton and I'll be taking you through these two topics, data collection and data presentation. These two topics, they intermarry, that's why we intend to teach them together. But firstly, I'll deal with the topic specifically alone. So I'll start with my first part of it, that is data collection. Then later on, I'll take you through the topic of data presentation. So let's begin. Data collection, we'll start by introduction. Now let's introduce what a data collection is. From a layman language, data collection simply is collecting data. Yeah, there are various data you can collect, where you are or where you've been, you are participating in collecting data in one way or the other. So data collection is the systematic process of gathering information from various sources to get a complete and accurate picture for decision making. It is the systematic process of gathering information from various sources to get a complete and accurate, underline complete and accurate picture for the decision making, or for a research, or for a study. The collection of data can be done for various reasons or various purposes. Number two subtopic, we'll talk about the objective of data collection. Why do we collect data? Or why do we need data? What the purpose of having that data? So objective number one of data collection is to obtain information that helps to answer a research question. It helps us to obtain information. In order for us to answer a research question, meaning we must have the data to prove the fact that prove that research question, that give a solution to that problem. So data collection helps us obtain information that helps us answer a research question. Number two, it helps us to test a hypothesis. We collect data to test what? Hypothesis. Number three, to measure an outcome and draw a conclusion. To measure an outcome and draw a conclusion. And lastly, to ensure the data is reliable, valid and relevant. So we collect data to ensure the information we are having is reliable, valid and relevant. Part 3, next subtopic is the types of data. So when we talk about types of data, openly we have two types of data. That is primary data and secondary data. Now primary data, let me call it a first-hand information. For example, there's something happens. How do you bring it? For example, now I'm a teacher, I'm teaching. You see, this information I'm giving you right now, whatever I'm saying right now in the front of the camera, that's what we call what? A first-hand information. So you are seeing it from me. Now this is a first-hand information. Now, whatever you're seeing now is a first-hand information. That's what we call a primary data. But when this information is recorded and sent to you for a study or for you to make your notes, then it will be known as what? Secondary data. Whatever I'm telling you from in front of the camera, you're seeing and listening from me, that's a first-hand information or primary data. After the recording has been done and this information has been sent to you, we'll categorize it as the secondary data. So by definition, primary data is the data which are collected in first hand by the researcher. It's the data which is collected in first hand by the researcher. Whatever the information the researcher is collecting, him or herself, that's what we call a primary data. Secondary data is the data collected by someone else, but used for your research. For example, now I'm teaching, then you use these notes for your own research and for your own studies. Now that's what we call secondary data. Now whatever I'll be giving you now after being recorded and sent to you, it will be what? A secondary data. Because you weren't there when I was doing it in first hand. We were never live. Next, methods of data collection. Methods of data collection. So under methods of data collection, there are several methods, but I'll specifically highlight 5 methods. And method number 1, we'll be having a questionnaire. Method number 2, we'll talk about an interview. Method number 3, we'll talk about observations. Method number 4, we'll talk about sampling. Then method number 5, we'll talk about experiment. But before I talk about them, I must also give you an assignment. And my assignment is simple. In each and every method, I'll expect and require you to highlight an advantage and a disadvantage for each and every method, be it questionnaire, interview, observation, sampling, and experiment. So highlight 3 advantages and 3 disadvantages for each and every method. So that is your assignment. 3 advantages and 3 disadvantages for each and every method. So method 1, we are having a questionnaire. Method 2, we have an interview. Method 3, we have an observation. Method 4, we have a sampling. And method 5, we have an experiment. So I'll explain each and every one of them. So my first method, questionnaire. Now what's a questionnaire? I know that you have had an encounter with a questionnaire in one way or the other. There's a day maybe you fill a form or somewhere, that's what I will call a questionnaire. Now a questionnaire, as per this definition, it is a research tool consisting of a set of written or printed questions used to collect information from respondents. A questionnaire is a research tool consisting of a set of written or printed questions used to collect information from respondents. So that question, you see those questions, they are asking you, have you did that and that, maybe they are collecting an information about maybe a specific calamity and you are given a question to answer. That's what we call what? A questionnaire. It's just a question. They can either be handwritten or it can be either be printed. But it must be relevant to the end of the study. It must be relevant to the end of the study, and I repeat again. Number 2, we have interview as a method of data collection. Also, I know in one way or the other, you participate in an interview. Now, interview is, according to this method, according to this method, the investigator interviews a different persons and asks them various questions relevant to the item of the study. So, interviews, the questionnaire and the investigator may pick 1 or 2 or 3, put them in a closed room with a set kind of question, then interview them one by one, until he collects the data or the information he or she needs for that research or that study. So they also here in interview, the question must be relevant to the topic of the studies. Number 3, method of data collection is an observation. Now, how do we use an observation as a method of data collection? How do we use an observation as a method of data collection? So observation, here there is no set of question involved. Here there is no written or non-written or non-printed. With observation, the researcher just comes, sits and observes. He comes, he sits and observes what is going on. He comes, sits and observes what is going on without saying a word, without writing anything. Perhaps he might just be recording. But he just comes, sits and what? Observes. He sits somewhere, doesn't say anything, doesn't do anything, just observe, then go away. So observation, in observation, the investigator asks no question. Instead, he or she observes the object or the action in which he or she is interested in. Investigator asks no question. Instead, he or she observes the object or action in which he or she is interested in. But to me personally, if I were to give a disadvantage of an observation, I think the information given by observation, okay, it is accurate, but sometimes it contains some forms of biasness. For example, me, if I'm here representing and teaching the way I'm teaching now, then my senior or my principal appear in the room and just sit and start observing me. That might make me to act in a different manner that I was not acting before. So meaning I might be influenced by the presence of my senior officer who will be now investigating what I'm doing. Next will be sampling. I will also not talk much about sampling because I've already teach you sampling as a topic in the previous topic, first 2 topics. Now sampling, as I repeat again, is just the process of selecting a sample of individuals, items or observation from a larger population to make an inference or a conclusion about a population. We have done much about sampling, the types of sampling and the example of each and errors and biasness. So based on this one, here is just an highlight, but you can get more on my previous presentation. The last is an experiment as a method of data collection. So with an experiment, this method of data collection where the researcher manipulates one or more variables under controlled and under control conditions to observe their effects on other variables. An experiment is a method of data collection where the researcher manipulates one or more variables under control conditions to observe their effect on other variables or to gather the information. So that marks the end of the process of data, the methods of data collection, and there are only 5: questionnaire, interview, observation, sampling, and experiment. My next topic will be the sources of what? Secondary data. Sources of secondary data. We said primary data is first-hand information. So the secondary data, we might have many sources. Number one, official publications by the government. Number two, we may have journals, reports, books and textbooks, magazines, media sources. There are so many. The records, the preview, there are so many. Even this recording, ukitumia it will be what? A source of what? Secondary data. So official publication, journals, report, books and textbooks, magazines, media, sources and etc. 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 There are so many you can add and add and add. And second last, as I almost conclude, I'll talk about factors to consider in data collection. Factors to consider in data collection. These factors are very, very much important. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. These 5 factors, they are considered. They must be considered while collecting data. So factor number 1, I'll talk about it, is accuracy. Factor number 1 to be considered when collecting data for research is accuracy. Now the accuracy is that the data you are collecting must be accurate. The data or the information you are collecting must be accurate, because when the data is not accurate, then the research of the study is done and the inference or conclusion is given, then it means that that conclusion that will be given will be wrong. It won't be accurate. So the data will inform our what? Our decision or our conclusion or our inference. Number 2, relevance. So with the relevance for the data, this simply means that does the data fit your research? Does the data collected or does the data that you are collecting fit the research? Does it answer the research question? Is the data relevant to the end of the study? Then number 3, timelessness. So timelessness is what does it mean? It means that is the data collected up to date? You see, you can be doing a research, then the data you are collecting is obsolete, was written off. So it's something that when I teach my research, I also teach research. When I teach research, I always tell my students while collecting data or while choosing a research question, choose a research question that will give you a relevant data. Not that after picking a research question or a topic, then when it comes to data collection, you want to be able to collect data because the data you'll be looking for will be obsolete. So the timelessness of the data or the up-to-date of the data is really, really a big factor to consider while choosing while collecting the data. Cost-effective, number 4. Cost-effective, this simply what? Is the method affordable? You can want to collect the data, but will you manage the cost? So you always choose the method that will be cost-effective, that will not cost you much. For example, a questionnaire, or maybe what? An observation. Sampling or experiment might be kind of cost-effective, but observation, questionnaire, interview, I think that will be most the cost-effective one. Then lastly, ethical consideration. Ethical consideration. Now when we talk about ethical consideration, we simply means, for example, for those who maybe, let me say in the music industry, there's something called piracy. Someone sings or sang his song, then you come and redo the same thing, then after doing that, then you want to use the same theme of someone as your own publication. So that's what we call piracy. Also data collection, before you collect data, maybe which was done for a research or a study or whatever, there must be ethical consideration. And we say ethical consideration, it means that the consent of the owner of the data must be obtained. The legal requirement for data collection must be obtained so that the data you may collect after doing your research, isilete issue, isilete mara plagiarism, mara whatever it is. So always consider ethical consideration, the consent of the owner of the data, the consent of the government or the law authorities or the relevant bodies that protect the data, the data protection agency. Their consent must be what? Obtained. Then second last, features of a questionnaire. Number one, short and clear. Questionnaire should not be long and ambiguous question. It should be direct and short and clear. Few in numbers. When preparing a questionnaire, don't have so many questions. Just have 3 to 4 to 5 questions. Definite. Should not be long. Should be precise. Non-confidential. It should be open-ended or close-ended. It's quite confident because it will be served by many people and many correspondents. Then the question must be what? Relevant. So the questionnaire, short and clear, few in numbers, definiteness, non-confidential and relevant question. Then lastly, common tools used for data collection. Tool number 1, questionnaire. Tool number 2, interview guide. Tool number 3, observation checklist. Tool number 4, recording devices. And tool number 5, digital tools. And that marks the end of our presentation in this topic, data collection. We'll meet again next time. I'll take you through the topic data presentation, which will sum up this topic, data collection and presentation. Thank you so very much.